We farm about 330 acres in the Rattlesnake Hills across like 12 or 13 different vineyard sites for both our state-owned vineyards that are for Two Mountain Winery, and then we also manage vineyards for 5 other clients in the area as well. Different people who've either made investments in vineyards but don't have a farming background. We also operate 4 vineyards. 4 of our clients are wineries that own vineyards but also don't have the expertise or the equipment or the crew, have contracted with us for that skill set that we can bring to the table in operating their vineyards to achieve their winemaking goals. So we've got sites down, specific sites that we operate that might be 5 or 6 acres, and then like a large site that we're on here at Copeland and Porteous, that's 90 contiguous acres, so all across the board. And we've done that very particularly to isolate. We like different areas bring different things to the table for the finished wine, so it gives us some nuance, specifically for our own wines, for the Two Mountain Winery wines, in having some blending tools in the toolbox and to really showcase the variation of the sites and the locations and what each location brings to the table when it comes to blending those finished wines together. So when you get extreme warm temperatures, the grapes do shut down, they do stop, but they don't. That will impact the phenolic characteristics of the wines. So the plants aren't, once above, 95 to 98 degrees, depending on variety, they'll shut down and really go into protective mode and stop growing. But that's impacting, especially post-veraison, so after the grapes change color and they're really starting to develop that phenolic characteristic, that extreme heat yields will impact that flavor profiles of the wines, and you end up with this bigger, jammier, chewier style finished wines. Whereas for our area where we don't have quite as extreme, you end up with that nuance and that elegance as opposed to that brutishness that can come from extreme temperatures. And I would, a good example of that is Australian Shiraz, or Syrah made in Australia, has that big, jammy, chewy characteristic, whereas you get Syrah from the Rhone, and the northern Rhone, we'll say, or up the Rhone Valley, north into the Rhone Valley, and you get this elegance and this nuance. It's the same variety, and it's a lot of the temperature. Obviously, soil and other climate characteristics are impacting it, but a temperature is what's driving that mouthfeel characteristic. After the acid tends to drop out, so that's a much bigger concern in warmer areas. I think that's where the Rattlesnake Hills really excels, is in acid retention, because we do get hot days, but our temperatures get so much cooler and it happens so much faster. We're high enough in elevation on the hill that we get to temperature a little bit slower. The peak temperature comes later in the day and it starts to cool down a little bit earlier than some warmer regions. I think a winemaker picks a grower relationship. There's obviously the vineyard and what that site can produce and what its potential is. And then that relationship and their confidence in the growers, in their grower for that particular site, to help achieve their winemaking objectives and really extract the best that site has to offer. So there's that foundational piece that just is that location, and that's what that vineyard can do. And then good management will really showcase those characteristics and do so in such a way that helps the winemaker achieve their winemaking objectives. So when we're working with all of the 60-some winemakers that we work with across the state, we really want to understand what's their objective, what are they trying to achieve, why are they choosing fruit from here, and really what can we do to help them achieve whatever they're trying to achieve with making that wine. And we want to have a really long conversation at the beginning of that relationship to understand what that is and make sure that the site that we're going to pull their fruit from or place them in is going to match that style, and then that we have a really good farming plan going into it for the year to really achieve their objectives so they can make the best possible wines, which then comes back to, showcases the vineyard well and creates that long-lasting relationship that we've been fortunate enough to form with so many of our customers.